I'm already all sweaty and all I did was load up the car. Hi, Time Crunch teachers, Marielle here, and I am going to show you today my first grade classroom, and I'm so excited because I have taught elementary, middle, high school. I was an administrator as a dean of students at a middle and high school for many years. I've been teaching for over 20 years, and I recently made the shift from 5th grade all the way down to 1st. I've taught 2nd. I did my student teaching in kinder and 3rd, but I'm so excited to get down to the K through 2nd age group to be working on teaching reading fundamentals and number sense and math, and I'm just really excited. I've actually already been moving around furniture for over an hour. That's why I'm so sweaty. Because our custodial staff normally leaves everything kind of in a big pile in the middle of the classroom, and then we move it to wherever we want. But they very sweetly set up the classroom, like put desks out and tables out. But it ended up being an arrangement that I won't be using. So I had my own children move all the chairs out of the way, move everything out of the way. That way I can kind of unpack everything out of my cabinets and then start setting everything up. So I have this area done. It will be our phonics, calendar time, basically the time where all the kids are sitting on the rug and I am teaching them something. All right, let's take a look around the classroom and I'll show you the things I have completed and maybe talk through some things that I'll add in later. Maybe I'll make a second video after I label everything or kind of get everything done. But mostly I just like to be ready for the kids showing up on the first day, and then over the next couple weeks, everything else gets put together. So this area I'm super stoked about. This is where I'll be doing the whole group, students sit on the floor while I teach. And we'll be using the UFly phonics curriculum this year, and I love it. I'm really excited to use it. And so I will be displaying everything on that monitor TV over there, and then sitting in my chair while the students sit on the rug. I know I think I'm looking at the monitor right now, and it looks like a very, I think, small area for the rug, but it's actually quite a large area. I measured it out. It should fit 24, 25 kids, no problem. But maybe if I back it up, you'll see the full size. But anyways, I will be sitting there. The kids will be seated on the floor. It's kind of partitioned away right here from, other small group areas and, teacher table, cozy corner. There, the district bought us these seats, which are awesome. So the kids, as they're doing flexible seating around the classroom, they can grab those cushions. The way I have this set up is obviously I will be sitting in the chair and the kids will be on the floor. Behind me, I just haven't put it up yet, will be the sound wall that goes with UFly, so that'll be on that bulletin board, or actually maybe I'll put it on that one just because it's easier for them to see and it's not blocked by any of me or the bookcase. So yeah, I think I'll put the UFly sound wall there and then some other phonics reference over there. And then the books that I will be reading the first day and maybe the first week of school will be right there, and any other books that we're reading for maybe a social emotional learning or whatever topic it might be will go in this little area. And I am just so jazzed. I think it turned out great. Has very, aloha vibes, has a lot of the tropical feel. A lot of my classrooms like that, not necessarily because, oh my goodness, I need to have this like tropical feel. It's just because I love plants and I have them everywhere, like in the cozy corner and all these little places. And so the kids and other people start to buy me things that have that sort of plant tropical feel. This rug I got on super clearance through Wayfair. And I know big rugs are really expensive. And normally I would probably want a rug that has dividers on it, but I think I can just find spots for the kids and stick it on there at a later date. I also have some of that rug tacky stuff, like you lay it under the carpet and it sticks. And so I'll be doing that. That chair I adore. My husband actually got it for me for like Mother's Day or something. I can't remember what it was, for our house. And it didn't quite fit. It's really low, which actually works great for when you're teaching and not so great in a house. And so I have it here, and it's Misty's special chair. If you are teaching any sort of phonics or any sort of program where you have to hold a book in your lap and do hand movements or teach to the class, I highly recommend this stand. It's whoops, I just kicked the camera. It's adjustable and it can go actually really high. I just took the middle pole out. But it's great because my idea is that I'll sit in the chair and then that will be holding the Hegarty manual, which we'll be using for phonemic awareness. And then it can also hold my UFI manual without it needing to be on my lap where it might slip off. It's just, I mean, you could just buy a really cheap music stand. That would work great too. But this one I love because it has wheels. I'll link this product in the description if it's still available. I also bought this ukulele stand to hold my ukulele, which I will have learned how to play this summer. Well, actually, I learned at the end of last year with my oldest son who loves playing guitar, and I just love it. I think it's super fun, and I've taken some songs and written some transition songs and whatever for our class using kind of traditional folk music, and I'm really excited to play it for the kids. I just love the ukulele because it just has such a happy sound. It's just so fun. It's only 4 strings. It's easy to play. And yeah, it's just a great instrument to have. Maybe I'll make a video on how I taught myself how to play. Over in the corner are some really, really rad puppets that I will be using, like a Hegarty hedgehog and all these other things. And maybe I think I'm gonna actually make a video and explain how I'm using them because it's sort of hard to explain without the visuals, but these puppets are rad and I'm really excited to use them with the kids. Okay, if we swing all the way around in this other corner, over here is an extra set of cubbies I have, and that's where I'll be storing the, what are they called, like word work mats or whatever? It's these things where, oh, I have the wrong template in it, but basically, oh yeah, here we go. They can put the letters on the words. Where's those like Alcone boxes? Yeah, this sort of thing. So I'll probably get rid of some of these papers just so it's not so confusing. No, wait, where's the one that you actually use with UFly? This isn't a UFly product, but it just works with Autophonics program. Oh yeah, here we go, this one, where they can put the magnet letters where they're supposed to be and then pull down as they spell. And I think UFly even has little mats that you can print out. Anyways, I will be using that, and what's rad is our district bought enough for one for each kid. It just hasn't been delivered yet. And so that's where those will be stored, and the kids, per row or whatever, can just grab the stack and pass it out when it's time to do it. These cubbies got so beat up last year that contact paper did not hold up well, but I don't really have time to recover them, so maybe that's something I'll do throughout the school year. So this corner area kind of butts up against this other teacher small group station. And right now you'll notice that I have not set up any of the chairs in the rest of my classroom. And that's because I have the wrong size chairs. Well, actually I just have last year's chairs, which are made for 5th graders. And so they will be coming in and swapping out the chairs later. And so just to make their jobs easier, I have all of this year's chairs stacked, or this last year's chairs, stacked in the back so they can just load them up and go. But, that means that the chairs aren't set up yet at my tables, which is not that big of a deal. Okay, I'm going to talk about my cozy corner, which is behind me in a minute, but I have to show you this thing that is very nostalgic to me. So I was at my mom's house and I found this, and it's this little stuffed animal frog. And I remember my grandmother giving this to me when I was really little, like maybe it was even my mom's, and she handed it to me. And it's a frog and it's beanbag, and then you unzip its mouth and it turns into a prince, which, like, let's just ignore that messaging for a minute of kissing the frog, but it turns into a prince. I showed it to my sons because I'm like, oh, this is so nostalgic, they'll love it. And they were horrified, especially because you have to like dump the filling into the guy's mouth. And when I was a kid, I loved this thing. Maybe it was simpler times. It was before the internet. It was before iPads. So a puppet thing, well, not a puppet. Okay, maybe this is the part they don't like. You have to stuff the frog into his mouth and zip it up. So I brought it to class. So you tell me in the comments, will this be just horrifying for a 1st grader? And I should probably just understand that he had his time. I don't know. Okay, never mind. I'm looking at it in the monitor and its eyes are... Wow, it looks terrible on camera. I promise you, it looks cuter in person. Okay, I've decided I can't put this out. I don't know. If you really want this. No, I'm not kidding. I wonder, I was gonna say, I wonder if she made it, but it has a tag, so never mind. This was mass marketed. That's how popular it was. If you have this too, please tell me, because I thought this was so special. I'm just looking at it like it's gonna get better. It's not gonna get better. Maybe it's the fact that you unzip its mouth. Yeah, okay, that's what's frightening. All right, never mind. We're going to put this in some cabinet for maybe some teacher in the future who inherits my classroom after I retire. She'll find it. Okay. This is my cozy corner. I love it. And Stephanie and I did a whole podcast episode on not only our de-escalation techniques for students, but also on basically our whole buddy class system and how we use it as not just buddy classes like for fun, pairing older kids with younger kids, but also as buddy reset classes. I'm not sure the order I'm going to be editing and posting, but if I edit the podcast before I edit the video, I'll try and link it. But point being, we talk a lot about our cozy corner, which we refuse to call a calm down corner, and how it is a hot ticket item and kids love going to it. And not only do our own students use this space to help regulate when they're feeling dysregulated or even just if they need a break from whatever we're doing, but also how other students use it. So when we do a buddy reset, like one of her students would come to my class and just need some space or some time to come down, they would just come straight to this corner and they'd either work on whatever worksheet they were doing, or they would read the books that I have, or play with the STEM bins, whatever. They would just be here. And what I love about how I have mine set up is it's in the front of the classroom, so if I'm teaching at the front, I can still see the kids. Like, it's not tucked behind a corner. I know sometimes that feels a little more cozy to have bookshelves or something like that and have the kids in there. I've just found, and this is, I can't even believe I'm admitting this, often kids fall asleep. And so if I can't see them, and I don't want to line up for recess and forget a kid. So for me, my cozy corner has to be very visible because sometimes kids are asleep or they're just so quiet that you don't realize they're still there. Is this Steph? Hi! I'm talking about our cozy corner. Come on over. I'm talking to Stephanie. Have I ever showed you this? I'm gonna stop filming and then I'll go back and finish my story. All right, so here's the cozy corner. I have books, I have little pillows and stuff that I take home every now and then and wash. Over here, let me move the camera. There are a couple different things they can play with. There's like these little bluey toys that they absolutely love, little squishy things. Those cards in the back over there have different breathing techniques. There's different poppets. Basically, you want a bunch of stuff that is quiet when the kids play with it and does not make a mess, like the Nido cubes. Another thing that I love, that the students absolutely love right here, are our STEM bins. And there's little cards with pictures for inspiration of things they can make. Some of the older kids, when I taught 5th grade, like the ones that were, you know, maybe like a challenge or whatever that they read, cards. But there's things like centimeter cubes. It's basically all the manipulatives and things that I wasn't necessarily using every day for math. The centimeter cubes, these little like tile things, the 5th graders love those. That's why there's not too many left. Shapes, leftover Lego, magnet tiles. They love these. They love the magnet tiles. They're just really expensive. And what is this? Omnifix cubes, that sort of thing. And so they can sit quietly and play with them and use them however they like. I also have 2 very sought after chairs. The first is this little kid rocking chair that I found at a thrift store for I think $20, and they threw in this other stool, and I love it. The kids love it, and I don't know, something about a rocking chair they absolutely love. This chair came to me from my colleague Bobby when she was downsizing her house and her mom's house, and she passed it on to me, and the kids absolutely adore it. It actually is a rocking chair, which is cool, but I guess what I love about it is, unlike the other little brown one where it actually rocks, this one just tips back and forth. So the kids love it, and they love being able to sit in it. But yeah, this cozy corner works out really well. It's a nice spot. It's right off the front of my classroom, and I have found that it gets a lot of use. At the beginning of the year, only about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 kids can be there at a time. It's also used by like a reward or something that the kids get to earn at first. And then that way later when they need it, if they're feeling, overwhelmed or dysregulated, whatever it might be, it doesn't feel like punishment. It doesn't feel like, oh, go to the calm down corner. It's somewhere special. And so they will choose to do it later. But yeah, I love it. I love all the books. I love everything that's in it, and it's cozy. And every now and then I'll switch out the books too. But I have found that the books I have out are just ones kids really like to look at when they're sitting over there. As we walk over here are all the cubbies. They're not labeled yet, and if I have time, I'll recover some of them because of the contact paper. But basically, I don't actually label them. What I do is I take those big binder clips and I put their name on the outside of the binder clip. That way, if I need to move cubbies, I'm not peeling off labels. I just take the binder clip and I take it off and I put it in a different spot, and now they have a different cubby without having to deal with any of the messing around with labels. Okay, here is a really good example of how I'm choosing to prioritize my time. These are the group bins that are going to go on each of the tables, and it's going to hold pencils and dry erase markers and socks. These are really great for dry erase erasers, because if you buy those cute little square ones, the kids just tear them apart immediately. And they often want to use their hand or their sleeve anyways. So having a goofy little kid sock that they can put on their hand, they like, and then buy black so it doesn't get stained and yucky. Anyways, these are the bins, and they have numbers that I made a couple years ago that I Velcroed on so I could switch stuff around, and it'll hold dry erase markers, pencils, and the erasers, because all of the tables have a dry erase surface on it. I actually made a video on how to do that. It was one of my favorite things I've done to my classroom, is to cover the tables with the dry erase sort of paper, or wallpaper, I guess you would say. It's held up really great, except unfortunately, I think summer school either stacked stuff on top of them, and point being, they started to lift a little bit and have marks. So if I have time, I'll probably recover some of them, or, throughout the year, kind of recover them here or there. But these bins are a little beat up, I don't know if it's showing on camera, but it has all these scuff marks and whatever. And, normally I'd be tempted to buy new bins and make it all look really cute, which if you have the budget for that, I think that's great. I don't. And I also don't have the time to make new labels and all that stuff. So I'm going to just let it slide. And, if I have time, I might wipe them down with some rubbing alcohol or something so they don't look, I don't want the kids to feel like they look dingy or that I don't care or whatever on the first day. But I'm not stressing about them looking perfect. And, because that's something I can either deal with later if I have time or not. Or maybe not with rubbing alcohol, but maybe with just plain baby wipes. Some of the kids can help out with that if they want. Part of the reason why I feel a little rushed to try and get stuff ready is because I'm meeting my husband and sons later. Well, not meeting them at the beach, but we're going to go to the beach later because my husband is teaching us. Sorry, I can't talk and count by twos at the same time. My husband is teaching us how to surf, and I'm laughing because I actually grew up in a very, very popular Northern California surf location, and grew up with some very famous big wave. Well, not grew up like I knew them, but grew up in very famous big wave surfers like Jay Moriarty and Jeff Clark, and who else is from around here? Well, whatever. Anyways, but the irony is I've never surfed, and maybe it's because I just grew up around it, or part of it's a cost. Like, if any of you surf, it's a lot of money, and being raised by a single mom and being able to afford a wetsuit. That's why everyone laughs because I go out in the water in just like my bathing suit or just like a rash guard and shorts because I grew up that way. Like we couldn't afford to get a wetsuit every new season or however, fast kids grow. And so I just learned to get used to the water. I don't think it's that cold. I would say the entire year it's somewhere between like 50 degrees and there's this like the southern swell coming in, so it's warmed up to 64. And I actually have a wetsuit, a full wetsuit, and it's only a 3-2, and I'm like sweating in it in 63-degree wet water because I just grew up boogie boarding and whatever in just a bathing suit. Anyways, point being, my husband's teaching me how to surf, and the irony of that is I grew up around surfing, and my stepdad's an awesome surfer, a long-time surfer in our area. And my husband didn't. He grew up in the valley and would come here to visit to surf. And so he's way more proficient at surfing than I am. But luckily, even though I'm doing this at 44 years old, very middle age, I grew up boogie boarding and body surfing and understanding water safety and understanding how to swim in the ocean. And then before we had kids, we did triathlon. So we got used to swimming and swimming in big groups, which I don't recommend. It's very like panicky. I don't like those open water swims. But anyways, point being, we're going to go and I'll probably boogie board because we have a friend who was a lifeguard in New Zealand and we were all boogie boarding and he's like, you don't have fins? And I'm like, no, am I supposed to? And he's like, oh, you should have fins. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go buy fins. So I bought fins and I'm gonna try them out. I'm sorry. For anybody who grew up surfing and boogie boarding, you probably think this is ridiculous that I haven't owned a wetsuit until this year. And have never swam with fins before because those are sort of necessities. But point being, we're going to boogie board, we're going to surf, we're going to have a great time. And then this weekend is a Hawaiian and Polynesian Pacific Islander cultural festival at our local fairgrounds. And so I'm super stoked about that. I'm Hapa. I'm mixed Asian and white, but my mom's side's Japanese with some Pacific Islander heritage. So I'm very excited to go to that, which means I have to get this done. See, I can't talk and count socks and put pencils in bins at the same time. So I'm laughing because the battery just died, and it didn't just die, it said battery exhausted. And I think it was just sick of me talking. So it just gave up. It gave up and decided to stop filming. Not that you needed to hear me rambling about me growing up not knowing how to surf and trying to learn it as a middle-aged woman. The really cool part is not only am I trying to learn how to surf, I'm trying to learn how to surf skate too. And nothing is more humbling than being middle-aged and trying to learn how to skateboard with your own children who are far better than you. So that's my little spiel. That's what I've been doing this summer, doing things that I probably should have learned how to do when I was an actual child growing up and not afraid of falling or getting tumbled like a washing machine in the waves. But whatever, it's never too late. So if you're middle-aged too and you're thinking of taking up surfing, buy a wetsuit and find somebody who has a gigantic longboard like my husband or a soft top. And it'll just have your husband push you into every single wave. You don't even have to paddle. It's awesome. And you too can learn how to surf when you're in your mid to late 40s. Okay, I do have a job to do. I'm going to try and finish this and I will show you more of the classroom. All right, here is my library and I will do my best to hold the camera steady. I got this set on mega clearance at IKEA forever ago. I think it was like $15 for both chairs and $15 for the table. And then those other chairs were somewhere else. Anyways, point being, the fifth graders loved this little bistro area. I'm not sure if it'll work out great with the first graders. If not, maybe I'll just put it outside in the little courtyard. But for now, that's what it'll be in our library. It's also another station where kids can go work. And I actually do have quite a few books for first grade, but I'm not putting them all out. So the first couple weeks we're just working on, like I said, over and over again, routines and procedures. And I don't think they're going to need all the books out, and they haven't learned how to do the bins. I haven't even labeled the bins. And again, that's not a high priority for me right now. But, the high interest Elephant and Piggy type books are out, and, some of the nonfiction level 1 readers. And so, like I said, I don't plan on necessarily getting that all ready before school starts, just so that I can buy myself a little more time. But also, I don't think it needs to be ready. They're going to have their own little bins down here so that they can have, their 2 books that they're reading, maybe a book from our class library and a book from the school library. Once we get to those levels, once I've done all of my pre-assessments and everything like that to see where they all are. And then maybe if I have like group supplies or their math things will go in those bins back there. I'll move this chair out of the way. This is a little word to the wise. Many years ago, because I haven't taught this student, a teacher labeled some of these with Sharpie. And I get that you can remove the Sharpie, but I just don't know. I mean, if it's not something the kid is taking home, I don't know why you would ever label something with their name with Sharpie. So I will be having to remove some of that. But basically, individual bins here, group bins there. And when I get all my curriculum, we will decide where it goes, pencil sharpeners, turn in bins, or I don't know what, my desk, extra little desk for kiddo who wants one-on-one help if we're both seated, but honestly, I'll probably just sit at their tables. These books, my 5th graders absolutely loved. It's the T-Dragon series, and it's a graphic novel. Or they're graphic novels, but what they loved about them is how huge the format is. And granted, this author, I don't know if I've put them out. They've created books that are like this size, paperback size, and I have those as well. But the kids really liked this, so I put it out. Even though the reading level is going to be too high for 1st grade, they can look at some of the amazing artwork and read the story that way. And I'll get some more easels probably to have more books on display. But that's basically what this whole area is, which is why I'm not totally maybe set on having this table here, because this is going to be theoretically a high traffic area. And so I might have to flip-flop stuff or just move this table completely if kids are getting their stuff all the time. But maybe it's the type of thing where they just take the bin in the morning and then they have it the rest of the day at their tables. Whatever. That's my theme for setting up today. Whatever. I like to have a soft start to my morning. Here, let me move all this stuff out of the way. This is a great thing to have regardless of what grade you teach, is having a standing desk that's at the back of the classroom with like a stool. And this one's great because you can grab the lever and it'll go up and down. So it's good for different heights. But for the kid who's a little wiggly but still needs to face forward, having this at the back of the classroom and they can still see everything, or they can move it and stand and pace or do whatever they need to do, is awesome. So I'll link that, although there's so many different versions. But I will say I do like that it has the telescoping top so you can raise and lower it, and having wheels is really important because they can move it around. And I've noticed with desks that don't have the wheels, the kids will lean on it and tip it over. Anyways, so I made a video on how I like to have a soft start to the morning where the kids are playing community games. I'll link that video, but here's what I'm going to have out, like Jenga and Lego and these fun little stacky block things. And they love floor puzzles in K first and second. Actually, my 5th graders loved floor puzzles, but I have a bunch of those. And so I'll just rotate these out. Maybe, once a week I'll put in different things. And, for the most part, it's a first come, first serve basis. But I think for the first couple weeks in 1st grade, I will put specific ones on specific tables, and then that's what they can play or do, and then rotate it every day just so they sort of get used to the options of the games. So Bop It is going to be a commitment, and let me explain why. My 5th graders loved Bop It, and they played it all the time. If you have never played it, I'm not even going to do the extreme. Oh man, did they play it so much the battery? Oh wow, they played it so much the battery died, or do I not know how to start a Bop It? Anyways, it's like Bop It. Oh, there we go.
High score 23.
Oh, they beat it. They got like 100. And it's this one. Okay, when you don't do it, he like sasses you. Anyways, these are all Bop Its. This is like extreme, where it has all these other options. This is like a little Bop It. This is like micro Bop It. I think this one's actually a Simon. Yeah. Okay, They, okay, get ready. You're going to hear that the rest of your life. They loved these. And for a break, they would take it and go outside, and actually had a special Bop It pass so that other teachers and administrators knew that the kids had permission to be in the hallway playing Bop It. Make sure you don't have next door neighbors, class teachers that are really close, because it'll just bother them to hear this right outside their door. It is so fun. They loved it. They loved it, trying to get the high score, but it is not for the faint of heart that you're going to hear that voice in your dreams and in your nightmares. Anyways, but it is kind of a fun game to have. There's other silent games down there that they can play. I show this every year because it is absolutely my favorite thing that I've done in my classroom, is organizing pens or markers, as the kids always correct me, markers and colored pencils by color. And it makes it so much easier because rarely do kids need all of the colors, meaning they don't need their own pack. And even if they do have their own pack, what happens is one color will run out way before the rest. Like the blue or black will run out way before, the yellow does. And so then you're like swapping them out and, oh, my yellow doesn't work. Can I borrow yours? Oh, he didn't give me back the blue, whatever. And it becomes a pain. So usually what I do is the kids, like if we're drawing something, I'll send one group member to come up and get all the colors for the group. So you're getting a blue for everybody and a green for everybody, or whatever it might be. And it makes it so much easier. And even if it does eat up a couple extra minutes in transition of getting the right colors for a whole class project, I don't care, because it just makes life easier the whole rest of the year, where you're not swapping out like group supplies. You're not having kids, like if a kid accidentally leaves a cap off, big deal, because there's a bazillion more. Now, I like out in that our school district pays for all of these. I think it'd be very different if the kids came in with their own supplies and their own special markers and you have to collect them. I think, maybe you'd want to keep it per class, but since the school pays for it, I just open a pack and I distribute it out by color, and it works great. And then every now and then I'll have a kid who's hanging out in after school that wants to sharpen all the pencils, so they'll just take all the greens and sharpen them or whatever. But it just makes life so much easier when you're dealing with any of the coloring. I have loose crayons right here. Crayons might be the only one where I actually hand out individual boxes, because I found kids can kind of keep them together that way well. And then if they accidentally break one of the colors, they can just come here and grab the other one. But they don't run out in the same way that the colored pencils, well, I mean, maybe not the colored pencils, but the markers do. And often I found when kids are coloring with crayons, they're like coloring a whole bunch, and so they use all the colors. Anyways, here's my bathroom pass. So the kid needs to go to the bathroom. They do the bathroom sign. Then I make eye contact. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And they come over and they grab one of these cones, and then wherever they're seated, they put it at their seat. And then that's a nice visual for me, because especially if they have assigned seating, which they will, I can just see where, like, what kid is out. And because I only have 2 cones of red ones, I'll explain what this one is in a minute. Because I only have 2 red cones, they know that if there's no cone there, they can't go. Or I'll look up and see, oh, there's 2 cones. Wait a minute until one of these kids comes back. My battery just died, so sorry if the editing is choppy. But anyways, this marks which kid is out. And then the actual pass is just soap. And I usually have 2 of these, and I might have a little sign that says, Miss D or whatever. So if they leave it, another kid or teacher knows who to return it to. But their bathroom pass is soap, so they remember to use it. This just has like Band-Aids and stuff in it. But it's a really simple system that has worked out so well, especially since with big classes of 30 kids, it's hard for me to remember like who's in the bathroom. And I don't want to do a whole sign out thing. I don't want to record keep. I don't want to be involved in the whole bathroom pass situation. And so I found that these 2 cones, and they can be any color, they can be any marker, they can be a cup. If you don't want a cone, just put the cup upside down, have worked so well. I love it. But I did find that sometimes a kid needed to go to the health office for whatever reason. And so I didn't necessarily want to use use up one of the bathroom passes, because sometimes the kid might be there for a while, especially if they're going home sick and they're in there. So I didn't want to use one of those passes. And so I just made one. If they're going to the health office, they put that one on their desk, and I know that somebody is out in there. Of course, they have to ask permission before they get all these. They have the hand signal, or they just ask me verbally. But it is a really nice, fast way, especially if you're working with older kids, where you can just do the little nonverbal, they, make eye contact and you're like, yeah, go ahead. having this is great and I love it, and I probably will use this until I retire. This is a sign I'm going to put on the outside of my classroom. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to hold it far away and be behind the mic. But anyways, I just put a clothespin wherever we are. So I tape it to the top of the door or outside of the classroom, and then we put a clothespin where we are. This is a free template I have, so I'll link it, but it's super helpful if a kid stops by your classroom or an adult and they're wondering where you are, they can just see where it is based off the sign. This is a kind of funny purchase, but what it is these buttons. I guess they're used for training dogs where you can record little cues or whatever it might be. But I'm going to use them to record directions for the centers. So maybe it's a phonics wordwork center and it is, circle all of the words with a short A sound or whatever it might be. I'm going to record my voice on the button so that they just press the button and it plays for them. It doesn't have anything recorded yet, obviously. One, because I don't have, we won't be necessarily doing those groups yet the first couple days, but also because my sons were playing with it and recording ridiculous like fart sounds and whatever, so I had them take it off. But this is a fun little way to help give directions without you having to repeat them. And since the first graders might not be able to, well, most of them won't be able to read yet or read really detailed instructions, this is a nice way for them to be able to press it and hear the instruction for their independent work or their group work. Okay, here's my board. It doesn't have hardly anything on it yet because I'm still waiting on my schedule. But over here is basically where I will have my visual schedule. And obviously I'll have the times written on the right, but that's, just a sample. Obviously I write the date. Over here, this is really nice. So it's where I can have the kids do exit tickets. And these perfectly fit a Post-it note. So once my roster is set and my students have a classroom number, if I have an exit ticket where they write something or answer something, they put it on the Post-it note, then they put it on their number, and it's a really quick visual check for me to, one, make sure everyone's done it, and then two, to just do a really quick formative assessment with the kids. I should only have 24 kids max, but I had it up to 30 for when I taught 5th grade, so I probably won't need that. This is where I write our essential questions or whatever we're working on for our main subjects of reading, writing, and math. And then the Miss D's errors. So one of the class agreements that I've had in the past that the students and I've shared and come up with is that we celebrate failure because it allows us to learn more quickly. And if I want my students to actually feel comfortable making mistakes and to actually celebrate failures or mistakes or whatever they might be, then I need to be vulnerable enough to show when I've made errors. So at the beginning of the year, I start by just acknowledging my own errors and I write them right there. For example, it'll say things like said to turn to page 37, but it's really 38, or misspelled a word, or forgot about the assembly, or whatever it might be. And then once the kids realize that I'm totally fine with them pointing out my errors, the kids start to point it out, and then they'll say, can we add that to Miss D's errors? Or, oh, that was an error, that was a mistake, can I add it to the board? And they do. In 1st grade, they're still learning how to read and write and spell, so they can just call it out and we'll write it on there. And then these are really great. These are just little visual things for if the students, what I want them to do, for example, write their name and then, glue whatever needs to be glued or whatever it was. And I used these when I taught 2nd grade. Actually, I used them when I taught 5th grade, and I liked them a lot. This year, I'll be using a lot of Google Slides, so I probably just have versions of that on Google Slides, but it's always nice to have it on there. I also have a must-do and then a can-do. Actually, I just realized those 2 phrases are probably a little vague for 1st graders, so we'll have to talk about shades of meaning. So the must-do is something that they have to do no matter what, and then if they happen to finish that, they can move on to the can-do activity. The first couple weeks or even months, it'll be a visual slide I create and display on this television up here, but as they're still learning to read and kind of understand all of our activities, but eventually I will just write them on there. And so that way the kids know what they do first and what they do later if they happen to finish the activity. I also highly recommend having this section on your board, regardless of what grade you teach, which is just what page number are we turning to. So if I say, okay, turn to page 17, I just write it 17 in that square, and then everybody knows, or if a kid didn't hear me, they can just look up there, and it works out really great. I love it. I love it for all grade and age levels. Oh, this is something I like to do. When the kids do something positive, I like to send them to the principal's office. One, because our principal's awesome, but also, and she always gives them a really fun little reward or treat or whatever it might be, but also because I often being sent to the principal's office obviously has a negative connotation. And for children where that has been, stigmatized, or they only associate going to the office with maybe like a bad choice or a poor choice, I think it's cool to reward them and send them to the office for something positive. And of course, you could kind of, the older kids, I could kind of trick a little just as a joke, like, hey, come here, I'm going to need you to go see the principal. And they're like, what, why? And then I explain why, and they get really excited, and they get to either keep the note or give it to her, whatever they want. This is one of those doorbell things that helps with transitions. I don't know if the mic picked it up, but a little bell rang in the other part of the classroom. Timers I use for everything. Eventually, all the kids' names will be put onto playing cards, and that's what I use instead of equity sticks or whatever, just because the playing cards you can shuffle really quickly, and you can stack the deck, meaning if I'm making groups, quote, randomly, I can pre-do it. And I know that's sneaky and tricky, but you know what? Sometimes that's just how it is. These are the smelly dots. And so what that is just the chapstick, or I forgot, what is this? Oh, lip smackers, where it has all the fun little scents. And if the kids are working productively and quietly, I walk around and I put a little smelly dot on the back of their hand, and I often hide which one I have. And it becomes a silly little fun guessing game where they get to guess what scent or flavor it is by smelling their hands. Usually put a sign up here to make it very clear that we are never ever going to use these on our lips, and also it's something only teachers interact with. FYI, if you ever want to trick the kids, root beer is a huge one. Not a lot of kids drink root beer anymore, and I know some of that is like cultural, because I know for a lot of my Asian friends, there's like certain medicines. Actually, our friend that's from New Zealand said the same thing, but there's certain medicines that have that root beer kind of smell, and so it has a negative association. It's like cold medicine, or wait, not cold medicine. Maybe it's like a topical medicine. But anyways, point being, they don't like it because they associate it with being sick or being hurt. But I have found in our area, a lot of kids don't know it because, I don't know, they just don't drink root beer. The other one is like Dr. Pepper. I don't know if I have that one out. Anyways, that's spending way too much time talking about scents. But the kids love it. They love smelling it. It's sort of like the scented stickers thing. I also have a bunch of noise canceling headphones that is needed often, whether it's for assemblies or fire drills. I highly, highly, highly recommend having those for, actually, I was going to say for students who have heightened sensory, but you know what, honestly, it's just for anybody. So those are really nice to have, whether a kid needs to focus on working on something or just needs to block out a noise. They can also just use regular headphones, which works perfectly fine, except the cord gets in the way. So I like having those, and they're really easy to use and grab for the students. Okay, so STAR student. I don't have classroom jobs. I know. What I do is every day I pick a STAR student, and their names are on here. I just, for confidentiality, I just have a blank one on the front. But anyways, every day I just pick a new one, and it's just all of their names in there, and I've randomly shuffled them through. But there's so many kids that I have found that they don't memorize, the order they're in, or it's still a surprise, I guess is what I'm saying. And every day we reveal who's the STAR student for the day, and they basically are the teacher's helper. And I'll probably decorate like a cute little chair or something for them to sit in, but normally they just sit wherever. And if I need help passing out papers, or if I need help with something, they just do it. If I need a message delivered. The cool part about it is they also get little rewards, like they get to be the line leader, or they get priority seating in the cozy corner, whatever it might be. And so there is a high incentive to be the STAR student. But I have found that's just really easy. And basically after I train, 3 or 4 STAR students on how to do everything, and I'm modeling it in front of everybody, then all the subsequent students know what to do when they're a STAR student. Or if they don't know how to do it, other kids will help them. If the STAR student does the lunch count or whatever it might be, the other prior STAR students can help them figure it out. And it works out really great. And I don't have to worry about switching over jobs, or that each kid has, enough jobs, or have had the full rotation. And it just has worked really great for me, regardless of what grade I've taught, whether it's been second grade or fifth grade or whatever. I really like the STAR student process. Backing up, I'm kind of smacking the camera on everything, is my teacher podium, where if I am teaching using the document camera, then it projects on that TV and the kids can see it. And once I get all my teacher supplies and materials, it will go in that cart. The kids, when they pass an AR test, although in first grade, I'll have to look. I don't know if they do AR in first grade, so I'll have to think of something else. But in fifth grade, every time they passed an AR test, they got to ring that super loud cowbell, and the kids loved it. I also have a really ridiculous phonics game I use that phone for, and it's adorable because kids these days don't know how to use like an actual phone. Like, forget a rotary phone, just an actual phone where they have to press buttons. And they always ask me, is this real? Is it connected? I'm like, no. But anywho, there's a phonics game we play with that phone, and I will link the video I have for that because the kids really enjoy playing that. All right, I'll sort of back up so you can see what the classroom looks like. So that's the front. There's the library. Here are the tables that don't have the chairs yet. And that's pretty much the layout of the classroom. I'm trying to walk backwards and not step on anything. There's a rubbing alcohol I was using to clean the tables. As you can see, that table does not have the whiteboard material. I'm going to recover it. I'm probably going to recover all of these, but low priority. They're perfectly functional. It's just the edging and some of the pieces got picked at by different classes. But I will link the video on how to do that because I absolutely still love it, even though I will be replacing some of the sections or spots. I love having this in my classroom. It makes collaboration so great and so easy, and the kids really love it. It's very engaging for them. All right, so I'm actually pretty proud with how much I got done, and that I think it's ready. I mean, I would obviously like to have name tags set up for the kids for the first day, so I'll do that. I'll probably just print those out at home and get them ready, and then their cubbies labeled. That's probably the two things I would prioritize. And I already have my lesson plans done because at the end of last year, at the second week of June, we did a training on the U-Fly, and so right after I got a lot of my lesson plans and slides and things ready for the first full 2 weeks of school, including lessons with all of these books. Well, not all of, well, yeah, actually all of them. And so, yeah, I'm good to go. So if anybody's interested in that, of what I'm teaching, let me know in the comments and I can share some of the things I'm doing with these books. I know a lot of these, a lot of teachers have, but on Tuesdays, I'm going to have a dress up day for Tutu Tuesdays. So you can wear a tutu since it's Tutu Tuesdays, or you can just wear two of something. So if you want to wear two mismatched socks, or like two t-shirts, I don't know, whatever. I'll let the kids interpret what that means for them. But I did get some books specifically around tutus. And these two, Teo's, actually these three, Teo's tutu, the yellow tutu, and Big are all I really love the messaging behind them. And I didn't grow up wearing tutus. I didn't do ballet or anything like that. So I have no concept of like the real way, but I love the messaging in these books, and I think it's just sort of fun to dress up and do something fun and silly with younger kids. And so anyways, that's why those books are in there, because it's going to be on those themes. And I'm sorry, I'm hand holding the camera, so it's probably all crooked and wacky. So if you're interested in what I teach, also, honestly, the person I just totally emulate is Susan Jones teaching. So if you watch her channel, and you should, it's fantastic if you teach K through second. She is a literacy coach, but she's also now a classroom teacher. I think she teaches first grade actually. And now, even though she's taught a lot of other grades, and her content is fantastic. And so a lot of what she does at the beginning of the year, I do as well. So I highly recommend her channel, and she's just a very experienced teacher as well. So that's about it. I'm very, very, very excited to be making content throughout the year that focuses on first grade and all the things we do with the younger kids. So if you have anything specific you're looking for, please let me know in the comments. I'm by no means a first grade expert, especially since this is the first year I'm teaching first grade, but having taught for, I don't know, this is like my 22nd year, maybe 23rd. I have to look that up. I absolutely love teaching, and I will hopefully share some tips and tricks and things that I do regardless of grade level. And I'll also be sharing the things I learn along the way. So thanks for being here. I'm so out of breath because I've been moving furniture. So I appreciate your patience on that. And if you are watching this because you're setting up your own classroom, I hope you have a fantastic year. And please let me know in the comments whether this is your first year, your 15th year, and what you'll be teaching this year. Bye for now.